So we finally got the official, true story of how so many of our government agencies are getting hacked into. Apparently, it's a bunch of kids being assassins and sneaking inside of top secret organizations like NASA and getting all this classified information. That's obviously what is going on after witnessing what this chapter is. It's a conspiracy. It's a fucking conspiracy if you think about it. Like, damn. This chapter, okay? Okay, so enough jokes and giggles and stuff. Let's just talk about this chapter. So, Assassination Classroom is progressing a lot faster than I think any of us realized. Like, I don't think any of us expected this chapter to already be having our characters of E-Class going to space. Like, did anyone expect that for this chapter? I don't think so, because I believe that this chapter would have been some form of setup. For instance, like a chapter that would have had them study on what they need to do when they go to space. I didn't expect from the last, chapter that set up, oh, we're going to have to go to space, to this chapter, we're already pretty much going into space. I didn't expect that type of jump. So, the way this is going with the pacing, we're getting closer and closer to the ending of this series. Like, it's scary if you think about it, because once this arc is done, like, a lot of time has passed once this arc is done, and this is kind of like their last chance to decide if they want to save Coral Sensei or not, and if this fails, the other people are going to start coming after Coral Sensei, like the due date to where everything is said and done is pretty much over. So we're getting into, like, our final couple of arcs before the conclusion of the series, and I just didn't expect the pacing with this arc to be that fast, and it's shocking. Now, I have to say, though, even though the pacing is fast, this is still considered a setup chapter, just because majority of our characters were just deciding who is going to be going to space, and what reason they're going to be going to space, and also getting to see that conclusion, which actually brought a single tear to my eye, because it was sad, and it was heart-touching to see how the ending of this chapter was done. So, let's talk about everything that led up to that ending panel of the chapter. So, all of E-Class, they get together, they sneak inside, they get, a part of the technology to where they can hijack the security. For instance, Ritsu hijacks everything, she's able to control the rocket. Well, they have to decide who are they going to be sending up to space. Like, they have to choose two people, and eventually it comes down to being Karma and Nagisa that's going to be going up into space, which is very interesting, because if you think about it, the entire last arc, the battle between E-Class was focused on between Nagisa and Karma because of the rivalry. And so, if you think about it, it's very fitting how those two would be going up to determine if they can save Coral Sensei or not, and they were the ones that started the fuel for this entire event. And also, at the ending of the chapter, when you see it to where Coral Sensei, he latches onto the rocket, and then he's talking to Karma, and he's talking to Nagisa, and he's like, hey, I worry about you, I feel bad for you. And as he starts talking all that, they're blasting off into space. No Team Rocket joke, by the way. They're going into space, and all of a sudden you see it to where Coral Sensei, he actually falls off, and he's like, whoa, fast. And it says at the end of the chapter, the first time that anyone of the E-Class has ever exceeded the speed of Coral Sensei. For instance, they went Mach 23, and we know how fast Coral Sensei can go. And to see that, it was a very heart-touching scene. In a certain sense, there's many ways you can take that ending. Like, for one thing, Coral Sensei isn't the fastest thing alive. But also, it was actually a different message. The ending of the chapter was a different message to me, and let me actually elaborate on what the message was. It was kind of like a symbol of growing up. That's kind of what it was. It was E-Class learning to be independent, learning to be by themselves and work on their own to surpass their sensei. And that's kind of what is going on. For instance, them launching into space and taking their own initiative and their own effort to be able to save their teacher. And Coral Sensei can no longer help them because, they're going into space. And, he's not there. And so it just shows you a sign of growing up. It's kind of what that was symbolizing at the end of the chapter. So props for the mangaka for once again doing a very well written message for this series. Once again, I have to express that this reminds me a lot of the writing when it comes to Gintama, because Gintama has, you know, certain messages that usually happens in each individual arcs, and that's kind of what this chapter did. And I've elaborated this on before in my anime reviews about I think the reason why Assassination Classroom is just so well received from so many Japanese readers and watchers of, you know, Assassination Classroom is probably because of the message it has to tell to kids that are going into school, and that's what the message was. It was like a kid graduating, or graduating and going to a higher class school or something. That's kind of what this chapter was. So tell me your thoughts in the comments below. I mean, how do you feel about the meaning of that at the end of the chapter? How do you feel about them already venturing into space? How do you feel about the pacing? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please be safe. Chibi out.